Hey everyone, welcome to Iron Revival's Kettlebell Corner. We're very happy to have Czar Horton on the line with us here. Kettlebell extraordinaire, Coach Supreme. Czar, why don't you give us a little tidbit about yourself real quick, and then we'll get right into
it. Okay. Let's see. I've been into fitness pretty much my entire life. I saw early when I was a kid, I saw Bruce Lee films, and I was amazed at that musculature and the shreddedness of Bruce Lee. And on a 6-year-old, I was very impressionable. So I wanted to be one of those guys. So my mom put me in karate when I was a little kid, but I got really kind of fascinated with weightlifting at about age 11. So I had two grandfathers who were both into weightlifting and fitness and stuff. So for my 11th birthday, I got a bench. And so I was on my way. I was doing pretty well, full out bodybuilding by age 13. So that was kind of the way, and that was the model in the United States that we were using back then. But I met Pavel in 2000 and kind of changed my life and changed everything and the way I approached everything. And that was very, very, but it took me 2 years to get into kettlebells because I liked what he was doing to other people. And got into the barbell thing, and that was cool, and I liked it. And it took some convincing, but I finally got on board with the kettlebell. And still, even then, at 2002, I guess I'd be considered an early adopter back then, because I knew after I experienced what it was doing for me, I insisted upon it being part of fire culture, where I served in the Albuquerque Fire Department. Just retired recently. I served 32 years there, and it was my mission to change the fitness culture in my department. And I wanted even a bigger view and try to help fire culture across the United States. So that was my big picture thing. I started locally in my own fire department and got pretty good grip going with that. I was able to change the fitness program at the fire academy there and serve a lot of my fellow brothers and sisters with the kettlebell knowledge and changing. That was right when functional fitness was kind of coming into vogue. And so, and then I needed to get certified. So I got certified in 04 because I didn't want to teach without being certified. So I got certified in 04. Soon after that, I was asked to be a team leader by Pavel, and I got to teach at the certification events back then. Then I was asked later to become a senior and got promoted. And then I got to actually teach instead of assist. I got to teach at these events. And then in 2013, I was promoted to master trainer by Pavel, and Pavel Tatsulin. If everybody doesn't know, I'm sure everybody knows he's the guy who brought kettlebells to this country. And so it was quite an honor, and it was really, really cool. And during that time, I was teaching I became an instructor at the fire department, and that's where I got to change the instructing at the fire academy, and I got to change the culture there, change the workout there. But I also at the same time with a buddy of mine opened a little studio called Fire Bells, and it was really with the intention of giving firefighters a place to train with kettlebells, and we would do workshops and so forth. But it just became kind of like a gym, and we had members from every walk of life. And then we really focused on police, fire, military, but it really wound up serving the whole community and big cross section of every slice of life you could think of. And we had that place going from, I opened in 07 and we closed it down in 19, just before COVID. But I've had through Strong First and being a master, I've gotten to travel all over the country, actually internationally, and gotten to teach and lead instructor certifications. And so that's what I love doing. So now that I'm retired, that's what I'm going to do.
All right. I love it. That's awesome. I, for one, have had the privilege to learn from you in person, and it was one of my greatest kettlebell experiences, I will say.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I kind of want to start off a little bit, and I know you work with a lot of the Z Health model on things, and I just kind of wanted to jump right in and say and ask you how someone's vision plays a role in developing and improving their kettlebell skills. Say, for example, how can my vision improve my press, and how can my vision improve my swing?
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects.
Association and go crazy. So I understand kind of the fraternization. I think it drives a lot of people crazy, but that's just the way the game's gone.
Okay. Sorry about that, Czar. All right.
That's all right.
Thank you very much for the phone call. See after Randy in Chula Vista.
Where's that coming from?
I have no idea.
Oh, this guy.
Randy, how are you?
Yeah.
Got it.
Got him.
Got him. We got everybody.
Got him. All right. All right. So
Everybody's got.
hold on.
All right. Sorry. Vision
Lost
in
it.
improving the swing and the press.
Copy. All right. Here we are. All right. So there are several elements to sports vision. And really more so than the vision aspect of things is eye position. And so I work with, utilizing eye position sometimes to do some correctives for people. And it seems to work out pretty well. Hold on 2 seconds. I have a technical issue here. All right. So I use eye position. I also use, for a few of my students, I'll use just trying to locate and identify. And it gives them speed in their vision and identify. But it also, through that, I put it where I put the target where I need it for them to be in proper head position and eye position when they're, for instance, in a backswing the other day, I used with one of my students and buddies. We were working on his swing. And so I put the target for him to identify some the numbers. I think I put it on Instagram, some numbers. I had him identify them, but he would have to call them out. I would call them randomly and he would have to find them and identify them. But where I put the target, it kind of manipulated for me without having to do a hands-on thing or have to explain anything, put his head in the perfect position that I needed for him to kind of work on his swing a little bit. So, and then eye position in up or down a lot of times can help in extension or flexion and create some additional strength. So that's how I use that.
Point of clarification.
Sure.
So I get the basically cueing without cueing by moving the target.
Yeah.
What does the identification of the numbers do?
It gives them, it's a bit of, actually, in that particular model, it's really kind of novel. It gives them some novelty. They have to focus on it. I call it out. They've got to, with speed, they've got to, search for it, find it, recognize it, identify it, and call it out. So there's a lot of things happening with the brain at that particular moment. And what that does, in my opinion, what I know of things, is that it helps cement the movement pattern in at that time. So I've got him doing several things just by calling out a number. I've got him looking for it. I've got him searching for a particular number. I've got him identifying it in his brain, having him verbalize it, and perform the skill in a movement pattern that's loaded at speed. So there's a lot going on there. And so that's how I think it and then we'll take away the target and then we'll do the skill and retest it and it'll look great. So I think it helps solidify the movement pattern a little more by loading it neurologically.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. Now, is this something you'll do with someone who's starting off, or will you wait till they've demonstrated some proficiency?
No. Yeah, this is, because this is somebody. So like I always, I liken a swing maybe or technique to a golf swing. And that's why people have coaches, even professionals have coaches, because nobody ever takes a left turn in their technique, right? They nudge off course, and they just get a little bit off. And then, if months go by and no eyes are on you, coaching happens. And so for somebody who he already has a movement pattern, he's already had it at some point. So what we're doing is just kind of reestablishing the proper movement pattern, mechanics, timing, and all that stuff. So that's when I use that to teach somebody from the ground up. Is not, I don't find that to be necessary. I actually would probably burden them more and probably have a shutdown, a complete meltdown.
Yeah, it sounds mean.
Say it again.
I said that sounds mean. just to start with it. I mean, I'm not opposed, but very cool.
Yeah,
I got a question for you. So you're the guy on the video. When you look up Strong First in YouTube, and
right?
Certification standards. So I guess this is a two-part. One, I guess the first part is, how do you do you feel good making everyone else feel bad about themselves when they compare your skills to theirs? But I guess the second, being the example, the skill should look this way, the skill should look that way. What do you where do you budge in terms of, anthropometry, adapting skills to different body types, different training backgrounds? Do you have kind of a rigid, this is the way it ought to be, or do you have a sliding scale for things?
I have both, actually. It's this is all principle based, and it's architecture to me. I know everybody's built different, and so different limb lengths and leverages and that kind of thing. So I follow those rules, but I know people that when I came to Pavel, I had bilateral, and now I still do have bilateral shoulder damage. So if somebody can't do something, we'll find a workaround, or some people cannot lock their elbow out. And so I'm not like, well, we're not doing presses because you can't do this, right? We'll work on mobility. We'll work on every aspect of getting that to happen. But in the meantime, we do the best we can. And I know everybody's going to come in with kettlebells. You have to be so focused. And I really like working with people who are into getting it well and getting good at it. And those tend to be the people, I work with, or maybe they maybe draw off that's what I'm into. I'm into form very, very highly. I put it way up there on a pedestal. And so that's what I'm going for. But I know everybody has limitations, and a lot of people have hard miles and, have some stuff behind them. And so with that, we work with what we have, and we work on the perfection. But in the meantime, it's architecture. It's structure and angles and carrying the load and withstanding the load. So we work on everything while we're pursuing perfection. If we get there, awesome. If we don't, you get most of the benefits, and it's still safe. As long as they're safe. The biggest thing to me is safe and fun and challenging. So as long as that's happening and we're making some, forward strides with people, yeah, would I like everybody to have X, Y, and Z in place? That'd be great. But, I'm also a realist and understand that. And then a lot of people are, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, do you have given, all the people you've coached, do you have a standard, I see someone with, let's take a swing stance, something pretty common, pretty general. Mm-hmm. You see body type A, body type B. Do you have two kind of, go-to swing setups? And can you talk us through some of those?
It's based on,
let's go with limb length.
Go ahead.
Let's go with limb length. Yeah.
Limb length. Well, then usually I still base it on shoulder width. Inside of the foot, lines up with the outside of the shoulder. And that tends to work pretty well for everyone. Everyone learns a deadlift first, so I get a good look at them. And then from there, setting up, feet straight forward, and everybody has a normal external outward rotation in the feet. So I work with that. And I look to see how it looks in the deadlift. If it looks pretty good in the deadlift, I can get a pretty good idea of how it's going to look in the swing. So generally, now if I go wider or more narrow is dependent on things like torso girth, because some people are big barrel chested, or they may come in, highly deconditioned, and we've got to make some allotment for that. But as long as I follow, the rules, then the rules are, stance width. Okay. If I have to go a little wider, that's okay. As long as they're moving safely and the key points are being addressed, I'm okay. So, but if somebody can get by with it, there's an old, and I don't know which one of Pavel's writings it is in. You stand as wide as you have to, so that when you swing, that the kettlebell doesn't hit you in the knees. So that's, it's a pretty narrow stance, honestly. But we can work it out for people. And then we have hip design, and, and then we have, again, mileage. If that hurts somebody, I'm going to, they need to go wider. They need more external rotation. I'll work with that. But generally, the general place where I start with everyone, no matter, is kind of in step, in line with the outside of the shoulder. And then take the external rotation from about 10 degrees to 30 degrees and no more than that. So.
Excellent. So I know that you're a stickler for the form, and just talking about that as people kind of come in. And I know, a lot of kettlebells has to do with practice and patience and development of these skills. you get new
Absolutely.
students, and you get coaches that are also equally as jazzed up about kettlebells as maybe you or I.
Yeah.
How do you manage, or do you have any strategies to avoid over coaching? How do you know, like, when is the right time to coach? Is too much, or what's your approach to that?
You know, it actually probably just comes with experience, because the thing is, there's so many things going on. I think take for example the swing. We just talked for a couple of minutes about stance width and foot angle. Now we talk about hip hinge and where the shoulders go, where the hips go. There's a lot of moving parts, and you come back from, you know, like a new instructor comes back with this, you know, like brain full of knowledge. And Brett Jones is like, he always says, don't vomit on him when you get back, because you want to share. You know, it's exciting, and it's a cool, you get to help people, and this is going to be awesome. And you know, it's going to be awesome because it was awesome for you. And that's why you became an instructor. And so you get back and you're like, that I do it now. I still do it when I get back from a cert. I'm all like hyped up, and you know, maybe I got a new nugget or something was re-inspired. So I'll throw it at everybody. So it's really, you have to, it's a little self-temperance, and, but some people need more coaching. Some people need less coaching. We like to generally let people experience things as long as they're moving in a pretty safe manner. You can take, you know, one thing at a time. I say pick your battles. You can't go, hey, we need to, you know, straighten your spine, bring your head up, also a little more knee bending, and I want you to push the bell through. We can't do that, right? Nobody's going to remember that. So I picked the thing that's the biggest safety issue first, and then the performance issue next, and then, you know, down the chain until we get, you know, then we can work on, you know, some tension here and some relaxation here and breathing here and those kinds of things. But as long as they're moving safely, I like to let them experience. And then you can drop like some type of cue on them, and it might give them, we want them to have their own aha moment, because, you know, you're here because you had some aha moments with this stuff, right? So you don't want you don't want to rob them of that aha moment by telling them exactly what they're going to experience. You give them enough to get them going, moving safely, and then talk them through the next step. So it's really the strategy. The strategy is reining yourself in, because there's so much you want to share, and it's like right there. You just want to give them everything, but you have to just take it in steps.
Yeah, and that's good. I appreciate that, and I think something really key out of all that was, you know, you said you start off with the safety first. You know, is the safety aspect there, and then you start to address performance, and then you can start to kind of hone in on details. I love that. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Sure.
I got something.
All right, hit it.
So I guess another two-parter. So you've had the privilege of, you know, working with a lot of people. So other than me and Jeremiah, of course, who do you look up to in the kettlebell world? Now hold on, I want one name. Don't rattle off 50 different names, because there are a lot of great people. I want one name, and I want a nugget from that person.
Oh man, come on.
This is not cool,
man.
I want one name, and I want a nugget.
Let's see. Can I start at the top? Pavel? No one said this would be easy. I don't remember anyone saying this would be easy. Let's see. You know, gosh, I have so many people I look up to in the whole kettlebell world. Several people. One I defer to a lot. Gosh, this is not a fair question, because I defer to a lot of people. We talk and collaborate and bounce stuff off of each other all the time. And you guys have already interviewed Brett Jones.
Not yet. We will.
I'm not. So, oh, you haven't? Okay.
No,
so that'll be awesome for you. Yeah. So many people. I'm not even gonna. I can't do that. I can't do that.
I think the last one you spoke with.
The last one I spoke with Brett Jones this morning, and we were talking about some clean mechanics, some pressing mechanics. Just this morning, I was talking to Brett Jones.
Let's hear it.
We were talking about this particular issue was knee bending in the hinge to develop, and the lack of that kind of keeping an individual from optimizing their athletic potential. And also not some mechanics on the clean, you know, really like getting smooth with the clean on it rolling up onto the wrist and not have any impact. So we were talking about two different issues. That was like get the timing and the path of the bell being, the shortest distance between the 2 points from your backswing to the rack, and it arriving really smoothly. And I love talking to Brett about that, because when they were making bigger and bigger bells, the Beast came out. It was at a cert, and they unboxed it. It was this huge thing. And Brett, I guess, probably had already access to one or something. I don't know, but he cleaned it. He did a one-arm clean, and it was like quiet and magical, and it just rolled up. This is a 106-pound bell, and it just went up really nice and smoothly, and I was like blown away. And so that's the clean that I'm always chasing, is the time I saw Brett Jones clean that Beast. It was really, really cool. So yeah, we talked about the amount of knee bend there should be for an individual, because there needs to be some. Otherwise, we're working with pure hamstrings, and then some people are going to have to muscle it out with their backs if they're not bending the knees. You're not optimizing your glute, quad, and ham, kind of like that nice trifecta of power. So that was our conversation this morning.
Okay, now, so are you one of these guys that thinks that you should have an identical lower body setup for a swing, a clean, and a snatch?
Yes, but so setting them up, because you get in your stance, take a little step away from the bell so you can give it that little running start. You get in the hike, right? So there's your start, and that's going to be the start to any ballistic, be it swing, clean, or a snatch. So in the following backswings, I think we tend to take a little bit of backswing power, and that the rebound, the stretch reflex potential off of the clean. So we push it back and get into the proper position to get it out of there. But I will decrease the power. But the look should be close to the same. But we are, we're playing around with different angles. Like with the swing and with the clean, you push them way back there to get that elastic return. But with the clean, we're playing around with like decreasing that angle and just getting, just really working on that, the foot drive into the ground and getting a good hip snap and some pendulum swing out of it to get it on the right path. But if you put that whole crank in, get that big elastic return, get that slingshot out of the hole with the clean, you're going to have to fight with it to rein it in and not get that flip and impact. So yes, they should look the same, and you're setting up the identical way. You're giving it a good hike back to start, and then you can play around and titrate the pressure that you push back with, and the speed and timing and angle a little bit. But yeah, they all generally should look pretty close to the same. But yeah, the setup for sure.
So for after that, you'll add are you talking about with the knee bend a little bit more active with the quads? To get a little more vertical trajectory? Yeah, for the clean.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I assume that like a little bit more knee bend also in the snatch to even get it up vertical a bit faster, right?
Yeah, you're going to use that. You're going to use that elastic return in the hamstrings. You're going to push it back and get those things to stretch, and then you're going to when it returns and you start that drive out of there, it's got a lot of power coming out of it, and then that's when we're just going to just rein it in and turn that outward potential that's going forward, and we're going to change that trajectory to straight up by reining that in. But yes, a lot more hamstrings in the swing and in the snatch for sure.
Got it. As far as like cleans go, is there anything you're struggling with on your clean?
Me?
Yep.
Sustaining. Well, right now I'm not doing anything with my clean right now. but generally, I love working double cleans, and I just like getting, like I said, I'm chasing that smooth roll up, and getting heavier and heavier weight, and being able to sustain a good set of double heavy cleans. I like that, and I think they're highly beneficial, and so I love doing them. So yeah, what I'm always, so like I said, I'm playing around with pushing the backswing, changing the angle, and the timing of when to push and push down into the ground, when to start your pull and get these guys rolling upward, and so. always tweaking with it just to,
Yeah.
you get aha moments within the aha moments, so.
No doubt.
Can you describe that? You mentioned that roll up. I'm pretty sure I know what you mean, but can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So a lot of times you'll see cleans with the bell coming out, and the bell portion of the kettlebell will flip around the hand, and as it's coming in the rack, you'll get a flipping impact, right? And in the early days, there wasn't a whole lot of. It actually was probably it was that's the way it was done, and it was training soldiers to take impact and be able to rebound out of that for combat and so forth. So it wasn't a bad thing when you have special forces guys and combat soldiers flipping this piece of iron onto your forearm, building up a nice density in the bone, and being able to take impact and then be ready to shoot something out from the hips. Cool. But, as it crossed over into kind of, the general population, I think there was a necessity there and for less impact for people to, have a better experience with this. So it wasn't as painful. Again, there was a quote, with pain, it was like, deal with it, pretty much, was the Russian response to pain during that, impact and stuff like that. And you learn to live with it, and you learn to absorb that. But so now the roll up that we're talking about, so it's evolved over the years, and this is just the way the clean is now. And it's nicer. You can get more done. You can accomplish more in a row, and you're not going to, sustain bruising and all that stuff, injury to yourself. And that is probably not a good thing with really big bells, flipping on and landing on the forearm and taking that impact. So the roll up is basically you getting that weightlessness of the bell coming up, and we're trying to get a linear projection straight up from the backswing. As soon as it crosses the front plane of the knees and shin, the bell should be coming straight up the body. So during that time that it's floating, we call it the float, it should be rotating, and basically it just, you're going to move your hand around the bell as it's rolling up, and it just rolls onto your wrist. So there's never any impact. That's like the mark of a really nice clean these days. So that's the roll up. So you get it floating, you get the rotation on the bell, you get a little spin on it, and it rolls up. The heavy part, the lower part of the bell, rolls onto the wrist rather than smacks onto it.
Okay,
does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does. So that's one of the things you're watching for when you're doing your certification stuff. Okay.
Plus, that gives you can really work on using that ground force transfer back. After you kick into the ground and use your let it transfer up through the hips, and then getting that float, you can develop a lot of power, and then you absorb that, and it's a nice kind of end place, a nice soft landing and getting in the rack, because it's a preparation movement for a squat or a press, or they're standalone. But it's nice to be set when they arrive. They kind of arrive at the top rather than just clunking in and you adjust. A nice clean is going to be projected straight upward, rolling into place, and then you're set and you're ready to do what you're going to do next.
So I've got a question about coaching. Again, you've been doing this for a long time. You've seen a lot of stuff. What needs to change? What needs to improve? What's the next evolution of kettlebell coaching? How do we all improve and get better?
The next evolution of kettlebell coaching.
What is there not enough of?
What's that?
What is there not enough of? What would you like to see more of?
I think well, in kettlebell coaching, I think getting the people who are coaching, getting certified to teach, first of all, because there are quite a few coaches out there who think they understand by watching, or watching a lot of maybe not the right information on YouTube University, and just going and teaching people. And I think they're doing a disservice to them, because there are a lot of training benefits when all the ducks are in a row. While kettlebell training, there are a lot of benefits to be had, And I think that coaches that aren't aware of that can be doing their students a disservice. There's a lot happening, as you guys know, in every kettlebell movement. There's a lot going on. There's tension, relaxation, breathing, head position, neck position, spine position, what the legs are doing, what the torso is doing, what the abdomen is doing, breathing patterns, all this stuff. There's a lot going on. And so I think that, people who go through certification, they get back, and I think that they take their time when they're coaching. Like I said, you get back with all this information and you just want to throw it at everybody because you want everybody to have this great stuff. But really, you've got to take it, I think, taking a step back and making sure that students are really getting a good, solid foundation when learning. So that when it does, and if they do that, because I front load a long time and set up body weight hinge, deadlift, and that saves me a lot of time and headache later in the swing, clean, and snatch, because we've really taken a long time in establishing what exactly is the hinge going to be and look like for this particular person. And that not only does it that I see it, but that they feel it, so that they take the time to help their students feel it, see it, and experience what should be going on. So taking a step back and not trying to get everybody to the snatch right away, or getting everybody to the whatever it is that they want them to have. Really taking time and investing a lot of time. And I'm not saying that that's not happening, but I'm saying that if it's a consideration for a new coach that wants to just share the world with their students, that they take some time and take it in steps, and not be not vomit on them and give them everything at once, because it's really can be confusing and gets convoluted. And then you have a mess, and then you got to go back and fix stuff. Take time and build it in chunks.
Yeah, I like that. Building it in chunks is solid. As far as like progressing, then when do you feel, is there like a certain point in coaching your students they're ready for something like the snatch or the clean, or do you teach clean then snatch? How do you go about that?
I generally teach it the way it's given in our system. So it's, body weight hinge, deadlift, swing, then you go to one arm single work, you do two hand stuff, then you do single arm stuff. We position, get the rack position established. Then you put the backswing, and then you give them the middle parts, because we've established the rack, and you give them the middle parts of how to get from the backswing to the rack. Once they can do that, and they understand that it's basically what I'm doing with my arm is similar, in the backswing to what I've been doing with the swing. Okay, so now I'm changing this. When they understand that and they've got a solid clean, but meanwhile, we're working on overhead positioning, just carries. When they can demonstrate a nice, solid, and safe, sustained overhead lockout, I will do a test run on snatches. But definitely in our system is the progression is the clean before the snatch, and I think that's safe, because and also having a good, solid, and pretty strong progression from beginning weight, whatever that student started with, a couple of bells up, and really like having and showing and demonstrating ownership of a good, solid one arm swing and a good, solid clean, and that they understand the mechanics of what's going on, the breathing timings there. They can activate their abs and hold that while they're doing their overhead carry. So I look for those kinds of things. Can they hold their abs together? Can they hold their pelvis in place while they're overhead? Can they, activate their initiation and change the shape of the arm, get into the rack? If they can get there safely and they own their one arm swing, I will then, then we'll start entertaining some talk about the snatch. But meanwhile, on the other side of things, we're working on press, so they can get multiple reps of finding the overhead lockout. We'll work elements or the progression of the get up. So working on grinds while working on ballistics, so that when those two come together, we have the overhead lockout and the ballistic meet. We have there's no mystery. They know this, they know the backswing. We're just going to fill in the middle part here on how to get there. And that tends to be, with our teaching progressions, tends to not be a very difficult road for people to to follow. So it's kind of cool the way the teaching system has evolved.
You mentioned some of these aha moments. You mentioned it a few times. I've had a couple. I'm sure everybody who's worked with kettlebells has. Can you talk about one of yours? One of your big ones?
One of my big ones. So the clean has been my nemesis. The double clean has been my nemesis. I find it the most difficult to perform of the first level techniques, the level 1 techniques. I've had a couple of aha moments. When the timing synced up on when to initiate the pull, and when I really got my leg power, my lower body power into initiating the clean and getting it to roll up without having to muscle up. For a long time, I was utilizing a good backswing. Everything looked like a good clean. It looked like a good clean. I thought, and it was a good clean. It was acceptable, hit all the standards, but really getting the hinge and the power of standing up to sync up with powering the bells in that float, and that they roll up and they just arrive at the top magically. Like that was a big one for me. When I finally started getting it on a regular basis, I'd get one here and I'm like, oh, what did I do differently? What did I do? So I'm like, what did I do? Okay. So then you got to play with that timing. And then I'm like, okay. All right, cool. So the moments like that, and it happens with the snatch also. Like suddenly you're in a good backswing and then you just blast into the ground with your heels and you just rip out of there, and then it's up there and it just whizzes by you, man. Here's this big piece of steel, floating past your face, and then suddenly you're up here and you're going, and then you're moving up, up the chain, up the bell sizes, and because again, front loading form and quality of movement. And I say this, you always work on your movement pattern, being, square shoulders, even pressure, no rotation. And if you do that, when you get to the bigger bell, you don't have to go, oh, now I got to do all this stuff because I'm at the bigger bell. You do the same thing with the small bell and you just work it up the chain. And then pretty soon you have a large bell that you've never been able to do. And you just stick to your rules and stick to your discipline. And suddenly this huge piece of iron is going over your head. It's a very cool thing. So you see your investment pay off and you're like, yes, thank you.
Nice. Are you an advocate, or are you using videos to help you get past some of those sticking points as far as like building better technique and getting yourself closer to more of these aha moments and stuff like that?
Like you video,
like filming yourself in your practice. Yeah.
I do it two ways. I have the very cool privilege of being around a lot of really good kettlebell practitioners with really good eyes. So I can, and I will ask, how does this look? I'll ask them, and I'll expect an answer. I don't want them to say, oh, good job. That's like, to me, that's the worst thing you could do to a student is like, good job. And they're not doing a good job. Right. So I ask with the expectation of an answer, and I want to get the information because I want to get it right. And so, there was another aha moment in the bent press when it all came together, like the timing and the rotation and like stacking the shoulders and getting everything came together, and I got a really good bent press and I was able to replicate it over and over. And I understood the timing and the drop and the extension. Like I was doing it and it was fine. But when it synced up and it really like just went, and it wasn't as hard as before, when I got all these alignment points, and I started to figure out, like I had some like geometric shapes in my head of what was happening. And it was like the base was kind of like, if you want to hear this, it was a triangle this way, and the top down was like a screw, and it was a triangle this way. And I don't know what happened. And then I figured some other things out. Me and my buddy Mark, we spent a lot of hours in the gym working on, hip placement, shoulder placement, when you hinge, when you drop, and then it came together, and then I could replicate it. So that was an aha moment for the bent press. That was really cool. Yeah, where was I? Where did I go?
Hey, we'll take the aha moments. Those are very valuable. Somebody out there is waiting for that same thing.
Yeah. What we were talking about something, and I went back to the aha moment. What were we talking about?
We were just talking about your assessment process of your own skills. Like you
right.
were talking about using.
Right. Yeah, I have access to a lot of good eyes. So I try to keep myself accountable to people. Take a look at this. I'll send a video of myself to, several people, get some feedback. And then I also, I'll record myself and go, okay, and if something doesn't feel right, then I will be able to look at my video and go, oh, because you're not doing this enough, or you're not doing that enough, or because a lot of times, if you notice with students in your coaching, you tell them to do something and they will swear to you that they're doing it. And you're like, so what you think you're doing is really, you're not really doing that. So, and you have to show them with video that you're like, here's what I mean. And you're like, oh, I thought I was doing that. And you're like, cool. So it's that mapping. And that's, again, the Z Health thing we talked about early on, helps with mapping, like where your body is in time and space, really very helpful for that. So, people a lot of times don't know where they are in time and space and angles and that kind of stuff. So video is a really good way to show them also for feedback, but I use it a lot. If I'm not getting the power out, I should. And, like I said, that golf swing, when you get nudged off course, you never take that left turn. And so if I'm not knee bending enough, or I'm not, getting the speed back that I need for a hinge or something, for a ballistic, I can assess that with my own video. But I do definitely like to get the opinion of certain people out there. So for sure.
Very good.
You want to open it up to some questions? I've got about 54 more, but want to see what other people want to know.
Yeah,
about.
let's get some other people involved here. So if you have a question, just go ahead and unmute. And if there's two people talking, somebody will be the bigger person and let the other person talk. And go ahead and ask Zar training your kettlebell related question, please. If not, that's okay. Roger's got plenty more, he said.
Yeah, I got something. Hey, Zar. I'm Chris Reeves. I've been following you for quite a while now. I guess two questions here. One, you had a post maybe like a month ago now, about training a girl with special needs, and I have a brother who has autism and Down syndrome. So I will say, I'll have to give you credit. You have the only Instagram post I think that's ever made me cry. So one, just good on you. That's awesome. So maybe if people don't know about that, maybe just tell them a little about that. Cause that's just awesome stuff, man.
That is the sunshine in my life, man. Her name's Ava. And, the guy I was telling you, I spent the hours in the gym with, working on the bench press and that kind of stuff. That's her dad, and he's a firefighter. And, several years ago, he asked me if I would take a look at her and work with her. And I'm actually at their house right now. If I would work with her, and it took us a while. It took us a couple of years to get together. And she was 8 years old, and she's walking out right now. That's so funny. Will you say hi? Hi. How are you? Come say hi. Look right here and say hello. Say
hi.
Hey, Ava.
That's Ava. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? Good. So we train twice a week, and we started, and I use Z Health principles. I use some FMS stuff. I use the principles that I use to train everyone. And what I love about her parents is they're the kind of like, don't take no for an answer. So when she was born, based on her tests and stuff, that she was not supposed to enjoy a quality of life with any athleticism at all, according to the doctors. And her parents didn't accept that, and they started looking around. They worked. They've been working with different therapies and this and that over the years. So I came into the picture when she was 8 years old, and we've gotten some really, really cool results because of the principles. And I have a nice mix of things that I do with her. With the Z Health stuff, we do a lot of vision stuff with her, and it's really cool. And we've gotten some good core strength with her, some good leg strength. She now on a regular basis goes snowboarding, and she's in a rock climbing program. And she spent literally, and it was a good climb up a wall. She spent 15 minutes trying to figure this wall out, and she was on there under her own power. she worked her way up this wall, and she hung in there, and it's like athletic now. She's strong. And now we started with some very basic things, and she's deadlifting. And we're taking her weight up. We just took her weight up, and she's and she can swing. She swings a kettlebell. Worked on her upper body. We spent a long time, probably a full year on lower body strength. And now that she can snowboard, I decided it's time to go upstairs a little bit. And so, and her new thing is she goes, I'm a girl who likes to curl. So I'm just kind of introducing her to some bicep stuff. So that's her new line. I love it. I love her. So thanks, man. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Thank you, man. That's really cool. And the other thing I had was, you had a podcast with the Breakthrough Secrets guys a little while ago.
Yes.
That actually made me look into possibly like looking into becoming a firefighter. And so thank you for that. But
right on.
Just
awesome,
any
man.
kind of like, any kind of like pros or cons. Like I'm still, considering that. Any like pros or cons or anything that you would, tell to somebody like me who's kind of on the fence about thinking about that?
Yeah. Pros, greatest job on earth. It's great. It's awesome. I spent 32 years doing it. I could have retired at 20. I kept going to work, man. I love it. I was a medic for 17 years and spent some time at the academy and in support divisions. And there's a lot of opportunity to be had within the fire service. You can stay on trucks and do frontline work, or you can get into support and do arson investigations and safety stuff. You can go, you get into the training academy, and I mean, there's so many avenues to pursue. You get into to be a paramedic with a lot of departments. Sky's the limit in there, and it's a great job. It's awesome. It's fun. You get to help people every day. You get to earn an income and raise a family. Like if your thing, which seems to be, you have a nice solid way to earn for your family. The downside is, you see a lot of stuff that people shouldn't see, and it adds up after a while. And, so if you manage your mental and emotional health by, addressing things that can cause PTSD, and, sleep deprivation is another thing that is very prevalent in the fire service. Those are kind of the cons. If you're wired for it and you like helping people and you can stand, the sight of blood and, that kind of stuff, I say go for it, man. And you're physically fit. Obviously, you're watching this for a reason, because you're into fitness and being strong, being mobile. It's a perfect opportunity to use your brain. You have to think your way through problems, be academic, use intelligence, but also use your body, load it up, challenge it, and get some really cool, some cool, adventures and get to be, part of things that not everybody gets to be part of. You get to help people. It's really cool. So yeah, pros and cons. But I'm like, hey man, go for it.
Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else have any questions for Czar? All right.
I got one more. If someone wants to jump in after this, but then by all means. What do you've coached a lot of people, and I'm sure there are people who are watching this who are thinking about going through Strong First, some other system.
Yeah.
What do you think is a common mindset of a student? What sorts of errors are people making in prepping or understanding kettlebells that they usually don't understand until they've already become an instructor, until they've already started teaching? What sort of mindset are people bringing into this that maybe you could try to caution against, or give them a little bit of feedback going into the process, rather than waiting until they've made all those mistakes to really understand what it's all about?
Okay. I think a few go in with, right? And everybody has their history, however they got there. They're obviously into kettlebells and they want to, for whatever reason, teach them. They find it might be a good avenue for income. They had their aha moment and they want to share it, and they want to, or they've had a really good experience with a family member or something that drives them to become an instructor. So I think everybody comes with, or they, do kettlebells at their gym and they want to teach them, and it's that simple, and they're going to go and get their show up and get their piece of paper. So I think the couple of things that I would recommend to when they get to that weekend, to be coachable, to be open, and understand that that whatever their way of coaching at that place, and I'm speaking of my system that I belong to, is it the only way to do this? No. Is it a very good way and safe way to learn, perform, and teach others? Yeah, it is. And so, but going in there kind of closed down, like just going to go do this real quick and knock it out, that's the one that's where people kind of get into trouble. I think in those weekends they get overwhelmed and be ready for the level of detail. Like we talked about, like I said, we talked for several minutes just on the stance and the angles, right? So we talk about the shins, then we talk about the knees, then we talk about the hips, then we talk about the glutes, and we talk about the abs and the back and the shoulders and the head and the neck. And then we're ready to do something, right? And we're going to do that every technique. So the level of detail is probably the thing that people aren't ready for, that goes into this, to learning it well. I would say also that they're going to get their manual and think that, everything's in the manual, and they'll remember. I would say they're not ready to, you cannot take enough notes. So be ready to take notes. That's what I do. I still take notes when I'm teaching and other people are instructing. I still take notes because you're going to hear those, like you were asking for that one nugget, right? That one nugget from one instructor, or that one cue you're going to hear, because an instructor is going to, just open your brain and let it pile in, and take your notes, because the way I see it is, and you've probably experienced it when you're talking to somebody, you're telling them do this, do this, do this. Okay, that's not working. Okay, do it like this, or imagine you're doing this, or and somebody will walk by and say, "Oh, just act like you're zipping up your jacket." Oh, that's amazing, right? So, having several ways to say the same thing is that, and you'll experience that at one of those weekends. There's several ways to get to the top of that mountain, and stay informed and follow the rules, and look, make it look the way it's supposed to look, and keep it safe. So the level of detail. The level of preparation, and way back, there was nobody to prepare with. You had you and your VCR, and then you go to the weekend and take a beat. But now there's enough instructors around that you could actually prepare with the certified instructor, and they can give you some insight. So I think not taking advantage of that. And now that everybody's training on Zoom and online, like pretty much everybody's accessible. And so I think that taking prep time to manage and be ready to go. So if your form is good and solid, you're going to learn some things that are going to make you better over the course of the weekend as a user and performer, right? And that gives you more room and bandwidth to take in the points to be a really good instructor. So there's two things happening at the certifications. There's two things happening at those certifications. You have on one side the user, the application. How do you do this? And how does the student, like, you're going to experience of cues and sequences and everything else that you've got to learn to be the instructor. So you're the student and performer, and then you're also, when you get back, you're the educator. And so there's two hats you've got to wear. And I think that the weekends are very cool about that. Very cool. And you got to be willing to do it. You go there and they're going to put you on the spot and have you coach people. So, that's another thing that people aren't ready for, because it doesn't, nobody really talks about that, but through the weekend, you're going to get asked questions. You're going to be evaluating, you're going to be real-time coaching people with what you're learning. So I think, those are the things that people maybe underestimate or don't even know about.
That's solid. And, having gone through the certification, I can say those all seem like very, very relevant things. It's really easy to just kind of go into the weekend and just think about either survival or, oh, I kind of already know what I'm doing, miss a lot of things. And then, go in and beating your head up against the technique for months and months and months. And like, oh, wait, I remember I learned that in level 1. And
that
was
didn't
pay enough attention.
Right. Yeah. And again, you'll be referring to your notes and you'll see, oh, here's the timing. It says it right here. I can read the manual again and again and keep to this day, or reading Pavel's books and keep picking up stuff. Because it's like when your brain's ready to see it, it'll identify and pick it out of that book. But when you're like, just trying to absorb all this information, you're going to gloss over some of that stuff. It's not going to make any sense. But manual of that course is gold. You continue to refer back to your notes and be like, oh, okay, I see what he means now. I get it now. But sometimes, when you're learning a subject, it's just like drinking out of a fire hose, right? Trying to get a drink out of fire hose, so much information coming, you can't get it. And then once you understand kind of a brain aha moment, and you get the physical aha moment. It's like when it all comes together, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. So that's a cool part of this whole thing. As you can keep learning. I'm still working on stuff. I'm still learning stuff. So it's like I've been at this for a while, and I still love it because it's got virtually no end, like Brett says, and it's wide, mile deep. There's not, we have so many techniques, but we just keep going back around. It's just a loop. You just go back and you keep polishing up your technique. And when you get it polished and when you've done enough reps, it's time to move up a bell. So you have a whole new experience. Okay, this takes more effort, more, timing is even more important right now, because you can get away with a lot of stuff with the smaller bell. But when you start stepping up the stack there and you get those heavy bells, timing could be everything. Posture can be everything, right? Breathing could be everything, right? The ability to keep yourself solid can mean the difference between success and failure, for sure, or moderate success and failure.
Right. Either way,
success, right?
The opposite side of the coin might still be failure.
Right.
I think that's good stuff, Czar. And I honestly could continue to ask a million more questions just off of that alone. But I want to respect your time and respect everybody who joined us. Okay. And we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. Really? And we'd love to do it again sometime.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And as everybody knows, kettlebells is a skill you can develop for your entire life. And Czar is living proof of that as being an early adopter and 20 some odd years into this and still going and still finding ways to learn more and more.
Love it.
Thank you again, Czar, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and checking it out. We do this every week. So if you're on here and you want to check out more, just hop on at 1:00, and then we release these on YouTube later on for your consumption and study again. And again, Czar, my appreciation to you. Speaking on behalf of both Roger and I, everybody, stay strong out there.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on. It was great. I had a great time.
Thank you.
Let's do it again. I'm game.
For sure.
Let's do it. Cool.
Thank you, Czar.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Appreciate y'all.
Everybody train hard, train smart, train hard, train smart.
I like it.